How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Stars of the Diamond. My name is Rhett, and periodically I'll do a video like this where I got a package today from an auction house where I bought quite a few items, and instead of kind of featuring a particular set, we're just going to kind of open the package that I got from the auction house and go over the items. And it's one of, as a collector, especially with vintage items, it can be exciting and a fun time. The auction house that we're going to be talking about today is run by one of my good friends within the hobby, and one of the really, really good guys, I think, in the hobby. And he runs sort of a boutique auction house for non-sports cards, and it's called Vintage Non-Sports Cards Auction. And the guy's name is Tom Boblitt. And he's just a good guy, and he has really, really great offerings for those that are not necessarily sports card collectors, but love N cards, T cards, E cards, and the like, and gum cards as well. Those are kind of the main categories, but there's a little bit of everything for people. And so I'm just going to kind of I'm going through these for the first time. They're in sort of packages just like this as they came from Tom. So we're just going to go through it, and I'm going to talk about, the items that we find in here. So we'll start with this box here, and we'll go through what we got. So this is going to be a little bit of a meandering video. So we've got a vintage cigarette pack here from a company called La Marquis. And La Marquis is known for their a set called T90. And T90 is actually one of the more interesting and rare T-card sets, in that it featured a small card with an actual piece of bird feathers fashioned to make an image of the bird. So kind of a crazy set, but pretty cool in that this still has the cigarettes in here. And you can kind of see, we'll take one of these little La Marquis out. You can still see the tobacco in there. They're kind of falling apart, but pretty cool. I collect old vintage products that came with cards, and I didn't have this cigarette box. So that's an item that I was kind of looking forward to just for my personal collection. We also have in here, these are kind of cool. These are two cards from the Lone Jack Cigarette Company. And they say Ruby Cigarettes, Lone Jack Cigarettes. And this is the same company that produced the N370 baseball cards. But in addition to the baseball cards were these cards here. And I believe these are referred to as N371s. And what that means is that they are children or comic cards. And you can kind of see that instead of a statesman or an actress or anything like that, we've got scenes with small children. So this is a sideways one with a baby with a lot of bunnies. Interesting. So those are some rare type cards. If you want to check off your N371 off of your type card list, they don't come up for sale very often. Now this is a pretty tough one. This is I believe this is Ritchie Tobacco Company, which makes it Canadian. So from Montreal, Canada. And these cards are 19th century, and they're not in the T category. They're in the C category for Canadian tobacco. And the C category is actually a combination of what in America would be T cards and N cards. So you have 19th century and 20th century all under the same umbrella. So I believe this is a C154. And just a type card that I collect Canadian tobacco cards as well. I think this is it's just filler. So we'll kind of go into our next. Some of these items, I didn't necessarily purchase anything from during this auction that was just killer item, just gonna blow anybody away. It was more just a conglomeration of different type items. So I'm not sure what is actually packaged in here. These could be, okay. So this is a group of T218 prize fighters and athletes with quite a bit of duplication. But you got some really cool early golf cards that are always super duper popular. Yeah, some of the billiard players and stuff like that are more popular than a lot of these athletes. I always feel like these cards are really, really highly undervalued for what they really are. Mainly because a lot of these guys, I mean, these were the guys that were competing against the likes of Jim Thorpe and that during the 1908 and 1910 Olympic Games. So pretty cool. In addition to billiard players, athletes, golfers, half the set is boxers, and there's also some cards featuring bowlers. Those ones tend to be tougher. And even some early aviators. Now, all the early aviators in this set would, most of them actually mention when they died. Yeah, so John B. Moisant, he was killed the last day of 1910 at New Orleans when testing his machine preparatory to taking part in the competitions there. So this card of him, made in 1911, was issued posthumously as he had passed away on December 31st, 1910. So always pretty cool. Here's some of the boxers. There's James Jeffries, another bowler. Ralph Johnstone is another aviator, and I believe he was also issued posthumously. He was killed in Denver November 17th, 1910, when executing one of his famous spiral dips. I think he lost consciousness, if I remember the story correctly, and eventually just fell to his death. And here's another. Here's Arch Hoxsey. And I don't think his... Yeah, he was killed the last day of the year. So, yeah, lots of... Oh, there's another golfer. Guy throwing the hammer. And then we also have some more boxers here. Joe Gans is a popular one. This set does have a Jack Johnson that tends to be the most valuable of them. Now, in this set can be found with, and I probably will feature this set because I've been collecting them for years. It's a fun set to collect, sort of as a master set type. The two main backs with these are Mecca and Hassan. And with those, they can both be found with either factory number 649 or factory number 30. And most individual people can be found with both. So there's a Sweeney with Mecca with both of those backs. And typically, if you're looking at Mecca and Hassan, the same thing, factory 30, factory 649. The factory 30 for both Mecca and Hassan just tend to be tougher in general. I would say probably 3/4 of cards are found with the factory 649 and 1/4 are found with the factory 30 or less. But a pretty fun little lot that didn't set me back too much money. So these are fun. Not a hard set to put together, although the Jack Johnsons are very, very popular, and they will set you back a little bit of money. And then in addition there, we have some, these are called N75, and these are from Duke Cigarettes. And these ones weren't in particularly high grade. There's some that are pretty nice here, but some have some enamel. It's not sure if that one looks like it's extra paper on the front. So, you know, if you moisten a Q-tip, you might be able to remove some of that, but some of these do get damaged. The ink that they used back in the 19th century, some of it does tend to stick, especially the color red for some reason. And so they can do damage if left in a big stack. So again, a lot of these have some damage to them. I think I needed 1 or 2 for my set of this, and the price was right. So I picked those up, and most likely I'll be putting some of the ones that I don't need on my eBay store And if you ever want to find my eBay store, it's actually under kryvintage on eBay. And I have most everyone knows me as a baseball and sports card guy, but I probably have a quarter of my eBay store dedicated to non-sports cards too, because I love the non-sports stuff. It's the price is right, and it's just, you can't beat it. It's just fun stuff to collect. And so we got two more. These just look like playing cards, but these were issued with Duke cigarettes, and I believe these are called N84. And there's kind of two types from this set. They can have the little numbers and symbols in the corner like this, or they can be found without it. And then we have, that's just a low-grade item. This is kind of a fun set. This is the N81 Jokes. Now this set can be found either, it was issued in 1890, and so it was actually issued with two versions. One before Duke produced or became the American Tobacco Company, and then one after. This is from after, so you can see W. Duke and Sons Company, brand of the American Tobacco Company. So the same card, all 50 cards from this set can be found with this back, or they can be found with an earlier back that makes no mention of the American Tobacco Company. So kind of a fun little set. If you're going with for the master set of those, it's a 100 card set. If you don't care, it's a 50 card set. So I'll just set these over to the side here, and we'll get into this next. This looks like some Canadian candy cards. So Canadian candy cards, unlike the American or the U.S. candy cards that are E for early and R for recent, Canadians all under a single category, and that's V. So V cards cover everything from, early 1910 era, candy and gum cards, all the way to Parkhurst cards. It's all under the same category. There wasn't enough sets for a verdict to give them two separate. And so these were issued with Cocoa, and Cowan's produced a bunch of really pretty and well done sets of birds and Boy Scouts and trees and Canadian Mounted Police and other things like that. You could learn to swim. They had quite a few, and most of the early V numbers in that category are from them. A lot of their cards were big, tall like this. Most likely this was the size of the candy bar, which was pretty sizable. And yeah, so there's some birds here with their Perfection Cocoa. And then here's a series of animals. Now the animal ones are probably prettier, better looking cards. And these are all from the V1 and the V6 set. But the animal ones you can kind of see are actually, I think these are all from the same brand. But they had, actually, there's variations in the middle as to what products they came on. So if you're going for a master set of these cards of animals, you can find different brands within there. So the master set kind of grows in size due to that. These are such big cards. They're hard to get onto the camera altogether. But those are cool. I have quite a few of those. I don't think I needed all these cards. I think I just needed a few for my set. So I'll kind of compare. And the way I tend to collect items is I buy lots. I keep the best example for myself, and I tend to just sell the rest of them, to fund my habit. Now this one, it looks like we've got a couple different items. Yeah, these are some of the nicer items I think I got. So I'm actually just going to hold off on those maybe to the end. I'll have to go over those. So this one just has, I think, a single lot of a rarer type card. Yeah. And so this might end up being a little bit of a longer video, but bear with me as I go through this stuff here. Again, I don't want to damage anything that's in here. I'm really not sure what I'm looking at inside some of these packages. All right, so I'm going to set these aside because I don't want them to get squished by this other box. So these boxes, I'm not sure what's inside these either. Normally when I kind of break down a collection, I go through one item at a time. I kind of take it and I put it into my collection and go from there. But here, I don't want this video to be too long for everybody. So these are not anything super exciting here. These cards are shredded wheat cards, and I mean, just big stacks of them. And these cards were actually the dividers in old-timey shredded wheat, which was super gross. I used to have to eat it when I was a kid, and I hated it. But luckily, they started making frosted mini wheats, because that was a lot better than the non-frosted mini wheats. And they came in big bricks, and you'd have to break apart the bricks. But in order to keep the bricks apart from each other, they would insert these into the boxes, and these were the dividers. And they made different How America Travels. You know, they would have cereals, cowboy and Indian cereals. Cereals meaning, you know, stories. And they would just, and so they're collected. They don't have high value or anything like that today, but they're actually a fun series. I don't mind them. Some people poo-poo them just because they're not that exciting. So we've got more of those. And again, these lots of these items. So here's one of those, the Straight Arrow. So this is a story from this Native American group, and the Straight Arrow Ingenuity near set of 36. I mean, these giant bricks were like $30 a piece. So, you know, all put together, I have a bunch. I'm missing a few for different sets. And again, the price was right, so why not? And here's another series of the Ingenuity Straight Arrows. So, I mean, that giant, huge stack. I can't imagine how much shredded wheat this kid ate, you know, to get that many of these. So here's a green series. And again, these lots were $20, $30 a piece for 30 to 50 cards. And at prices like that, it's not hard to, you know, sell duplicates and recoup quite a bit of your money, you know, if you need to. So, whatever. Again, not super exciting, but they are what they are. And so in here, not sure what we got. I think these are some tobacco packs from the 19th century, just some Allen and Ginter ones. Yeah, so these ones are kind of cool. So a lot of your 19th century Allen and Ginter tobacco cards came in these boxes, and they had slide shells. So what you would do is you would get this pack of cigarettes, and you just push up. There were your cigarettes in the little slide shell. Your card was inside here, and just sitting right on top. So I think we always think of it, you know, tobacco cards, even 19th century ones, they tend to be thick as pack stiffeners. The reality is they were long past pack stiffeners. This is a pretty solid cardboard box here. So unless you were crushing it, then you would not need a pack stiffener for this. But cards, for example, just like, I'm just going to take one of these out here if I can. So a card just like this Allen and Ginter World Sovereigns would have come in this pack exactly as it sits, just like that. So when you got this back in, you know, 1888, 1890 or whatever, you would push this open, there would be your card, you know, you'd pull the card out, and then you would get to smoking your cigarettes. And that's how you would receive these Allen and Ginter cards. So at the time that this was issued, I think you probably knew who you were getting in your pack, just because the tobacconist that was selling you the product probably let you know, like, oh hey, what's in the packs today, and they're like, oh, we got world sovereigns in this shipment, or we got world's champions, or we got Allen and Ginter presidents, photographic presidents, or we got girly cards, or whatever the case may be. But again, I'm a big fan of collecting the actual products that the items came in, and I have a really extensive collection of them. And these ones are pretty cool because they're actually, all three of them have different dates on the top. So this one says crop of 1885, crop of 1886, and crop of 1888. So typically with tobacco, and I'm not a smoker by any stretch of the imagination, you would use tobacco from years earlier, not necessarily the same year that it was picked. You would let it sit for a good period of time and cure. So the crop of 1885 may have actually been 1888. I don't, again, not a smoker. You can correct me if I'm wrong about that, but that's how I understand it. But anyways, moving on. So we've got this. This is a uncatalogued. It's pretty big. This is an advertising piece. So I mean, it's huge. It's like 14, 15 inches tall and like 6 to 8 inches, wide, and it's for Sub Rosa cut plug. And so again, no advertising on the back, but that's just a massive advertising piece. And again, not necessarily something that I collect a huge amount of, but when the price is right, I do pick them up. And here's another one I just have sitting here for the exact same brand, which is about the same size. This is one that I picked up earlier. So Sub Rosa all tobacco cigarettes, and again, almost identical in size to this one. This one features a pretty girl going to like a masquerade ball or something like that, or maybe she's picking up a Zorro contest there. But yeah, I enjoy those advertising pieces, and I might feature those at some point, the ones that I've picked up. But this is a pretty rare type card, and I believe these are N511 or 511s, and this is the Spanish Puff brand by Mandelbaum. And again, typically if you have one or two of these types in your collection, you're happy. I think I had one or two. I don't think I have any of these particular subjects, so these will all be going into my personal collection. And one of the lots that we got here, these are Allen and Ginter N34 World's Sovereigns. So one of the tougher, actually, Allen and Ginter sets to find, and one of the more popular ones to collect are these. And obviously we've got the President of the United States, Grover Cleveland, down here. But each card features a different person. And the Queen Regent of Spain, the King of Spain, who was a baby apparently, and the like. But what's interesting is that they're not identified. So this one, I believe, just calls him the President of the United States, but it does not identify Grover Cleveland directly. And there's some pretty high demand cards in here, including one or two that I've been looking for quite a while, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag on those ones too early because I haven't picked them up yet. So again, there's the Queen of Denmark, Belgium, and Bavaria. And again, these ones, 19th century cards, they tend to be pretty thick. They're thick cards. So unlike, T cards that are pretty thin, these are pretty hefty, resist some wear and everything like that. So they tend to hold up pretty well. The big thing with 19th century cards, both baseball and non-sports, is the fact that most people, when they got these cards, if they survived at all, they were put into scrapbooks 9 times out of 10. So back damage for 19th century tobacco cards is the norm. So a lot more difficult to find without back damage, which of course nowadays that's how we want them. So finding them with evidence of having been in a scrapbook or, you know, writing on them or anything like that. That's the norm. So some of these I needed. It was just a lot of 15. And I don't think... I think I paid about $8 or $10 a piece across the board for these, and I need, I think, 5 or 6 of them. So the other ones that I don't need, or the ones that are, if these are upgrades, the ones that I had previously that are lower grade will go in my eBay store to fund my habits. And so that's kind of that. Now these are one of the early Topps issues, and I know we kind of think of Topps kind of entering the scene, and like with 1952 Topps baseball cards, these beautiful cards, but the reality is they started in 1948 with some really ugly Magic developing cards. But these ones were issued 1949, 1950, and these cards are, you know, really interesting. They're very reminiscent of the football set from 1949, which has the Joe Paterno rookie in it, in that these cards are, on one side, feature a general, so a British admiral here, and then on the other side it has a felt with the, you know, a felt of that particular flag. So kind of an interesting set, very similar to the felt football cards from 1949. But these ones tend to be pretty tough. And again, I probably have half this set, so I need some of these. Some of these will probably just go straight onto my eBay store. And again, these tend to be found with a lot of fraying on the actual flag portion. So these ones are nice for the issue. And we got 3 N28 athletes. And again, I think I needed one of these 3. And none of them are particularly nice or anything like that. This one has some back damage. This one has some ink. This one's got a fairly clean back, but it's just a little bit soiled. So not sure if I'm going to keep any of these. I'll compare them. The price was right, so I picked those up. Here's another thick cabinet advertisement piece. Now this does not have any advertising on the front, so you would never think, you would think, hey, this is just a generic actress, but it still has the paper attachment on the back dictating who this came from. So this is from Old Chief Cheroots, 5 for 5 cents. By returning 20 wrappers to this store, you are entitled to one of these beautiful photos. So this was like a premium. So the reality is this should be considered probably an N series. And but again, probably most of these, when they were redeemed, this piece of paper, as you can see, was already starting to peel off over here, was removed, and you wouldn't know it by seeing it what it is. So this one is Grace Stewart. So just a large cabinet photo, larger than your typical cabinet, which would make it kind of a mini imperial cabinet. And so some of the cards that, the better cards that I got, I have a soft spot for really crappily made cards. And some of my favorite cards are the novel series. So in 1950, the Novel Packaging Company would make a toy, and on the back of their little box of candy with a toy inside, they would have one of these cards. And there's the Indians, there's cowboys, there's space astronauts, and spacemen. And this one here is from a series of magic tricks. So this is one of a series of exciting Mr. Magic tricks. And so these cards are almost always found in just pretty terrible condition, because they were literally part of the box, and you would perforate them off the back of the box, and often that was done. This side was done well. This side, they kind of mangled the card to get it off. But this is about as nice as you typically will find them. Some creasing and everything. Just a fun series. They really have grown in popularity quite a bit. I believe these are R722s, if I remember correctly. I think that's the number. And there's like 20 different series. And as a baseball card collector, the old Judge set is always a big one on your mind. But this is not a baseball player, but this is a judge, or I can't remember who M. Balfour was, but he was a notable person. He wasn't an actor, but I always like in the 19th century non-sports cards, the males of notability are always a lot more valuable than the actress cards. So if you have a card of him, this might be $100 to $200 card, whereas an actress would be 15 to 20 bucks. But probably the set that I was the most excited about as far as the actual item itself are these two, and these are from a particularly rare type card, 19th century type card. And this is President Cleveland. And I don't know if many people know today, but President Cleveland was married to a much, much younger woman who was considered a major beauty of her time. And so that's who we have here. We have President Cleveland and his wife, Mrs. Cleveland. And I believe she was 20-something years younger than him, or something, or even more possibly. But she was quite the debutante of her time, and the Jackie Onassis of the 19th century. And so there's quite a few cards in the 19th century of Mrs. Cleveland. And these are categorized as N476s, and they were by G.B. Miller Tobacco. And so this is a tough series. And so what we have here is we have President Cleveland. He looks like he's slightly trimmed, whereas the Mrs. Cleveland does not appear to be trimmed, and you can kind of see that. So it's just a shorter card here, probably lost a little bit of the top. So yeah, it almost looks like a factory cut. It's a little fatter and squattier than the Mrs. Cleveland card, but I think I might have one or two of these types, but I didn't have either of these two subjects, so those are welcome additions to the collection. But anyways, I think that's pretty much it. Again, not necessarily the most groundbreaking of mail days, but it's fun. I enjoy. I'm a very eclectic collector. I have sets that I really focus on, but then I also collect a little bit of everything. So if something kind of strikes my fancy on a day, I have no problem just kind of buying something just to find out a little bit more about it. And again, most of my this channel and most of my collection is dedicated to sports cards. But as I've gone on and progressed in my collection, I've moved into the non-sports card world quite a bit, and I really enjoy it, mainly because the price point. So instead of, for example, an Old Judge baseball card, if you want to collect Old Judge baseball cards, your starting point is about $150 to $200 per card, and that's for low end, not rare, not high demand, nobody ball player. And obviously your highest demand cards, Hall of Famers are $1,000, $2,000 plus, and rare cards can set you back tens and tens of thousands of dollars. Non-sports cards just aren't in that stratosphere. So if you have a non-sports actress Old Judge card, it might set you back $10 to $15, and that's a high demand brand. Some other brands like Duke or Sweet Capital, you can literally buy Sweet Capital actresses just like this for $1 to $2 per. So you can get 200 of them for the cost of a single baseball card. And I think a lot of old time collectors have kind of moved into the non-sports world just because they're completionists. They enjoy collecting sets, and on a budget, baseball cards, especially pre-war baseball cards, have, the average collector's been priced out of that market. And so a lot more people are starting to move into the non-sports card world, and it's fun, it's enjoyable, and it will not break the bank, and you can build a huge collection just slowly over time, and it does not require a lot of money outlay. So if you haven't checked out vintage non-sports auctions, run by a great guy named Tom Boblitt. Do so. He's an awesome guy in the hobby. I've considered him a friend for many, many years, and he just runs a great outfit. And nobody is giving the hobby access to better non-sports cards than Tom does. So anyways, thanks for joining me today at Stars of the Diamond. If you have any questions, or if you're a big non-sports card collector and want to talk about it, again, let me know in the comments below if there's any items here that you think are awesome, or you have some, and if you're looking to move something and you want to let me know, let me know. If you want an appraisal about something, or you just have something similar to what you've seen here today, and you want to find out, hey, what's this thing worth? Just hit me up. I have a no obligation, appraisal service that I can do. I have no problem. I have no skin in the game. And if you want to find out what something is valued at, just hit me up, and we can talk. And anyways, if you like my videos, be sure to hit that subscribe and like the videos. The more people that like the videos, the higher they go on YouTube's rankings, and the more that they will be likely to refer somebody to your videos. So I appreciate any like if you like the video. Also, consider hitting that notification bell. That lets you know when I upload new videos. And again, thanks for joining me. And as always, everybody, happy collecting.